Boy, oh boy, welcome back everybody. It is officially September 1st, 2018, 12:10 p.m. And yes, you are looking at Tropical Storm Florence, officially named Tropical Storm in the Atlantic Ocean, letter F. The next one would be Gordon, which possibly has the chance of forming right in the Gulf. We are up to 40% chance of cyclone formation over 5 days with this little disturbance we have basically over Dominican Republic and Haiti right now. And if this thing does get its way underneath the Bahamas and through the Keys, we could very, very well see a cyclone formation inside the Gulf. So this thing would be forming basically just as it makes landfall. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, we obviously have Tropical Storm Florence, 45-mile-an-hour sustained winds right now. This thing is going to grow. There's no doubt about it. And we've had a change in direction, guys, according to a lot of different models. You could see it right here with your own eyes. If you guys remember, over the last couple days, we've been watching this storm, and most, if not all, the models had this thing coming right up in the middle, kind of maybe doing a left hook, and then boom, getting brought right out towards the island area. Now some of these models are keeping this thing really flat. If you look at the black triangle line here, this is the current direction of the storm. You'll always see this one kind of stick out from the rest of the spaghetti models because this is actually which way the storm is moving as we're speaking right now. Now, the models are where they think it's going to go. And if you notice, a lot of these models are starting to keep this thing a little bit to the south. One model even bringing this thing dangerously close to the Bahamas and even Florida. And those are even part of the European models, believe it or not. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at a few things. Check this out. You could start seeing that telltale sign, that counterclockwise spin for Florence. It's only going to get more defined. We're going to see that eye develop probably around this area. In fact, well, let's click on some things here and see what the projected path is according to this chart. All right, so we're expected, they're keeping it as a storm. They're not saying hurricane force until it gets into about this area, but then after that, we're going to look at the Ventus sky and we're going to look at tropical tidbits. Right here is where it wants to become a hurricane. It could happen sooner, it could happen a little later. We just don't know yet. But with that counterclockwise spin going on, we know this thing is forming, and that is why it is a tropical storm right now. That's why we're at 45-mile-per-hour winds. So, once again, here are those plots, guys. They are staying south, and it's moving west. This one right here, I am not liking whatsoever. We're going to look at that actually right now. All right, according to Ventus Sky, the GFS version, and we are 10 meters off the ground. By the time we hit September 10th, which is a Monday, this thing is pushing well over 100 miles an hour, over 107 miles an hour. Again, we got to remember, guys, anything after 5 days, we can't really put a lot of money on. But within that 5-day period, we can be pretty certain this is where it's going to go. So let's back up. We're at the first right now. We'll watch this thing through. Here is the second. And again, we are 10 meters off the ground. So this is real speed. This will be real ground speed. Winds that we're dealing with as we watch this thing grow. You could see how it's not getting those deep colors until around Tuesday, the 4th. That's when we're going to start to see those hurricane force winds, possibly. We got 73 in there. 74 is that Category 1 status. By the time we get to Wednesday, we're definitely within that area. You can see the 76 and the 77 in there. And then we move in through the next weekend, Thursday. Here is Friday. Here is Saturday. Here is Sunday. And here is Monday. Now, if you guys remember, last year we covered Hurricane Irma. And Irma at first was projected to not only hit in the northeast, but it was projected to literally make landfall on 9/11 in New York City. That was based on the data. I did get a lot of flack for that video after the storm obviously did not go in that direction. But again, guys, I show you current data. So I show you what they're showing us. I don't make predictions. I don't do any of that stuff. So the people that gave me a hard time about that video clearly weren't really listening that much. But this storm, according to the GFS, does want to take a track towards the northeast. But the European model has a little bit of a different idea, and we're going to look at that right now. Now I'm going to back us up to September 1st, current time, because we're going to look at a few things here. One, we're going to look at this area near the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and this is going to show you that storm that they're talking about with the 40% chance of cyclone formation, go right underneath the Keys and right into the Gulf, and then basically form just as it gets to the Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana area. You're also going to see Hurricane Florence form and end up right around this area by the Bahamas and South Florida. And then you're going to see a storm behind Florence. That is going to be Hurricane Gordon if it forms. So check this out. As we move forward, you can see there's a high pressure in this area, low pressure for Florence. As we move into the third, the fourth. Here, look, by the fourth, we have this system on the west side of Florida, 1,007 millibars, same as Florence at the same time. And then we move into the fifth. You can see this thing just dips under 1,000 millibars as it hits the states, basically of Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana all at the same time. Again, if this stays true, we're talking about September 5th. That is 4 days away. So this is a very plausible situation. Here is Florence here, and then this would be Gordon behind it. So let's finish out this run. You can see how this storm here may not become a hurricane. It may become a hurricane. Either way, tropical storms are very capable of causing a lot of flooding and even some damage. So this thing wants to wrap into the states towards Texas, over Louisiana. But then we're going to keep an eye on this area right here, Florence and then Gordon. The Europeans believe that Florence is going to flatten out and keep going west. And this is the last bit of data we have. On September 11th, we are basically a few hundred miles outside of the Bahama Islands and to the east of Florida. So it is very much time to start watching this storm on a daily basis to make sure that we know where this thing is going to go, because we have a little bit of conflicting info going on here. So this would be Florence, this would be Gordon, and then yet another low pressure. As we've been talking, guys, this is going to be like a conveyor belt for a while. You're going to see storm after storm after storm. We're going to switch really quick over to the GFS and see where they put this storm, which is going to match very closely to Vent2 Sky, because this is the GFS version, and this is September 10th. Right here, they have this storm. So the Europeans and the GFS are a little bit off from each other, but nonetheless, they have this storm tracking to the west. It's all going to depend on the Bermuda Atlantic pressure. You could see the H there. This entire pressure bubble is always morphing and changing, and these storms naturally want to move north in the northern hemisphere. They're spinning counterclockwise, but they want to move north, and whatever pressure lets up and allows them to do that, that's what they're going to do. So the Europeans believe the pressure is going to keep this storm south, and it's going to stay west and get very close to the Bahamas and Florida. And then the GFS has this storm hooking north a little bit sooner, as we just saw here. So I'll back you up really quick one more time. This is the GFS version. They have it going west until about September 4th, and then it begins to hook a little bit north, bringing it basically in between Florida and, let's say, South Carolina. You could even just borderline that with Florida by the 7th of September. That's where the data ends for us. And then, like I said, on Vent2 Sky, we have data up to the 10th, which brings it up into this direction. So we are still dealing with a situation where this storm could either hook up right into the northeast, or it could stay south and then want to do some stuff to the Bahamas and Florida, possibly ride up the coast. We just don't know yet, guys, but one thing is for sure, we officially have the next tropical storm in the Atlantic Ocean, Hurricane or Tropical Storm Florence, soon to be Hurricane Florence, and then we will be dealing with Gordon. And really quick, guys, just to remind you, this is not uncommon. This is exactly when our peak hurricane season is expected. We could see September 10th is the peak of this mountain. Picture this as like Mount Everest, and you get to the top of the mountain. We are going to be there in about 9 days, so having Florence out there in the middle of the ocean close to the east coast of the U.S. just makes perfect sense at this point, being that September 10th is going to be that crunch date around September 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. We are really going to see where Florence is going to go. And then we begin to taper off as we head towards the middle of September, and then a little bit more as we reach October 1st. But still, between the peak time right here, September 10th and October 1st, I really believe we're going to start seeing a lot of letters covered. Whether that becomes major hurricanes or not, that is very hard to know, but I can see it on the the coasts of Africa, those storms are beginning to flow like waves. They're going to come one after another, and we just need to keep an eye on it, guys. This is peak hurricane season. This is why we do this type of stuff, and we just need to continue to watch this track and make sure we get everyone who's in the path of this storm, if it is going to make a landfall or head towards any sort of land. We need to let them know, keep them updated, and that's what we're here for. All right, guys, that's the update for now. Spaghetti plots are changing. This thing is getting much, much closer to the U.S. than people expected at first. And all we can do is watch and keep people updated. All right, guys, we got some stuff to do this afternoon, but we will be back this evening to update you. Anything major going on, I'll be right on here to let you know. All right, guys, have a great rest of your afternoon. We'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.